record very much. So that would be, I think Scott would appreciate it if we go back and look at that first before calling him. Thank you.
That would be great. It's just done. Y'all should have just seen it. Okay, thank you.
Excuse me.
Okay, business wins.
I'm kind of new to this group. Where are the videos located?
Ooh.
So in the win group, have you joined our WIN win group yet?
Yes.
They're all in there.
Okay. Is that like on a Facebook or
Workplace?
Workplace. Okay.
Yeah, make that one of your favorites.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, you betcha. Business wins. I know y'all have them. D, speak up.
I had my buyers, we closed last Thursday, so definitely a business win there. I'm really happy about that, especially starting January off on the right foot. I feel like this year is going to be great. Lots of personal wins. I'm really into like health and wellness, so I've been back on track with nutrition and all that. So I feel like that's a pretty good personal win. So
fabulous. Keep it going. Keep us inspired. Anybody else?
I got a listing that should be going live by the end of the week, right across the street from my house.
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
So
yay!
I'm excited.
Good morning, Brenda. That's awesome, Dixie. That's fabulous.
I got 2 leads from Home Story, the Relo program certification I did in Vegas. That was cool.
Really?
2 of them.
So just real quickly, how did they come into you, and how did you, I guess, secure them?
I got a text that said, hey, you have a Home Story lead. Do you have time in the next 10 minutes to take this phone call? And I said, yes. And then they send me a 1-800 number. You click on the 1-800 number and it immediately connects you to the buyer.
Stop it.
Yep.
Awesome. and that's a Relo?
It was through the Relo certification program through Home Story. Yeah.
Because Vicki and I are finishing Relo up this week. Our certification.
Teresa got one also.
I did. I got one. They're from Canada. They're looking to be snowbirds in Austin. And I had my second meeting with them yesterday, and we're going to have another one today. I do a Zoom call.
Y'all, that's huge. So
yeah.
I'm going to also just switch to revenue share. When you're talking to other agents out there, it's a little tough right now. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah. I mean, we're doing more, kind of like we used to do. Share these success stories. I mean, what a great story for people to be able to get great, validated leads. Go ahead, Letitia.
So to add to that, I also received a lead from Express Offers.
Wow.
It was cool how it came in because it was a text and it said it was from Tyler, someone with Express Offer Corporate. And so, we get all these spam texts. Yeah. So I was a little leery at first, but I responded and he was like, hey, do you work the Bastrop area? Also, are you Express Offer certified? I was like, sure am. So I literally within 10 minutes get this confirmation email and the form to fill out to make sure, I accept it and where to go in and keep the file updated and everything. Been speaking to her for a little over a week. At first, she kind of, shut me down because she wanted to sell quickly. But then she's so like heartbroken about basically giving her home away. She doesn't really want an investor to take over it. So I just kind of had a heart-to-heart with her again yesterday, and she wants me to come out today. So I'll be visiting with her this afternoon, hopefully picking up that listing.
Nice. That's phenomenal. And reminder, Letitia, money is money. We can't get emotional if we're trying to reach our goal,
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, I I also try to make sure that I get on that level of empathy with her too, because she's been in her home for 15, 16 years.
Yep.
And that's a way that I feel like we had something in common, because I've also been in my home for 15 years. So I just told her, you know, I can't imagine being in that position. Her husband passed. She's, you know, basically being supported by his Social Security, which isn't much. And she's terrified of, you know, where to go and not having enough money.
Well, I am so glad she's in your hands, darling.
Well, and Letitia, I can give you just a little bit. I was in my home for 19 years and through a divorce, and then my kids left. What I did is I videoed my house, and I thanked my house for all the things that had happened there. As far as, you know, my kids, I walked through with a video, and I have the video. And remember that you take the moments and memories with you. They never go away.
You just gave me chills from my toes to my hair.
Well, I was bawling by the time I got to the door to leave. But yeah, I did it right as soon as everything was out of the house. And I really did thank every single room for all the things that it had provided for me for those 19 years.
You know what, Joanne, and for everybody on here, what a great takeaway when you have someone, and we all do. I mean, my God, when I sold my house, I was, you know, you go back and it's like you're leaving all the memories and abandoning them. But what a beautiful nugget to share with all of us so that we can help our clients.
I also wrote a letter. I wrote a letter too. I wrote a letter to my house. So,
hey, quick introduction. Brenda Rodriguez is on the call. She's new. She's never been on this call before. She's a mentee, and she's are you at school, Brenda? On the call.
For that. Yes, I am new, so I just appreciate you guys kind of having me here. I just want to hear, and I know it's a motivational call, so that's really what I need. So I appreciate you guys just having me here.
Well, welcome to our family. I love having all of these new family members. Just warms my heart. Yes, Teresa.
I just say, go back to the basics right now. I picked up an amazing buyer at an open house, and it's for now business. If you want now business, start doing open houses again. I think people are out there, things are happening. So just FYI.
Fabulous. No, that's exactly right.
Yeah. And Cassie, did you share your win?
Oh, not yet, but I have my first buyers meeting tomorrow. With a new first-time home buyers. So wish me luck.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Yeah. Was it a referral, or how did you?
It's actually my tenants. They've been in the house for a while, and they had a baby, and I knew that they were probably going to get ready to start to move on. So I just put it in their ear that I'm an agent now, and if you guys decide that you want to buy, just keep me in mind. So he reached out yesterday.
Fabulous. Congratulations.
Yeah. So I'll lose a tenant, but then hopefully I can raise the rent, and it'll all be good.
That's exactly right. We all went from wanting listings, right? And now it is beautiful having buyers, because especially if they're qualified and motivated, which we shouldn't be with them in our car or spending time if they are not. Wouldn't you agree?
So, yeah, and he put that in the text that they're already pre-approved. So I was like, yes.
One tip, I would reach out to whoever they're pre-approved with, Cassie, say hello. I'm going to start working with them on the purchase of their home, and just verify what is written in the letter, number one, right? I just want to confirm this. And how much information have you actually gathered from them? So that you know that there aren't all of these conditions, and you find a house and then figure out, oh, wait, I need tax returns for 2 years. Well, that ain't happening.
Okay.
Just a tip.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that's great.
Okay. Anybody else before I turn the show over to our favorite Scott Richards? Anybody else? Okay. Well, it is our distinct pleasure, because all of us have talent in our wheelhouse that others might not have as much of. And Mr. Scott Richards has spent tons of time and been very successful on using Facebook. So he is going to give us tips and tricks, and I am going to turn it over to you, Scott, if that's okay.
That is okay. Thank you, Chrissy.
Thank you for doing this. We appreciate it when everyone shares.
You are very welcome. Just want to do a quick audio check. Can everybody hear me very clearly?
Very
Thumbs
clear.
up if you can.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
All right. If it drops out, sometimes my earbuds decide to take a rest. So if the audio drops up, just kind of wave your arms and let me know. Also, I'm happy to take questions throughout the presentation, so don't feel like you need to wait till the end. It's probably better if you speak up than put it in the chat, because I won't see it until the end. So feel free to jump in. This is really meant to be an exchange of ideas and challenges that you've had and things that have worked for me and not worked for me. So happy to make this a very interactive session. Otherwise, I will just talk for 45 minutes and it will get very dull and my voice will start to trail off. So
well, and I would just recommend hold your hand up like this if you would like to ask a question, because I agree. It's hard to watch the chat and watch you. So, all right.
Thank you.
Let's blast off.
All right. So two things I want. So I did do this presentation. I want to say it was like 9 months or a year ago. This is going to be different because, hey, I've learned more stuff over the past 9 months. And so I'm going to try and incorporate that. The other thing is, just for context, I am a real estate agent in a very rural area north of Asheville, North Carolina. So my market is about 3 hours wide and long. So I will drive all over creation, trying to generate business. So I have land, I have homes, I have everything in between. So it's a very wide variety of people I deal with. I've been in this for just over a year. So I'm still a newbie and still learning all kinds of things. So again, feel free to jump in if you have suggestions and ideas, because I'm definitely humble enough to acknowledge I don't know everything, and I'm just beginning to scratch the surface at this point. So two things I want to cover today. One, why I use Facebook advertising. So fitted into what your overall lead generation workflow could be. So I'm going to jump around and share a bunch of different screens and information and resources that I use. I will attach links to the meeting recording afterwards. So if I flash past something you're interested in, I will link to it later so that you can go back to it and check it out and see if it would work for you. The other thing I'm going to cover today is the mechanics of creating an ad and posting to Facebook from a business page. I know a lot of people it's just challenging to get started. So I want to go through a little bit of that and just show you how easy it can be to do this and generate a bunch of new leads. So let's start with the why. Probably helps with context. So my background prior to real estate was about 25 years in software development, and I led small and big software development teams developing all kinds of different software. And one thing we focus on in that industry is trying to generate value for customers as quickly as possible with as little effort as possible. And I've tried to carry that over to real estate because, I'm sure like many of you, when you moved into real estate, you read a lot of books, you did a lot of research, you got all of the different variety of ways you can approach real estate. And I try to narrow it down to, okay, what things can I do that generate the most leads for me, that allow me to present value to as many customers or potential customers as possible for the least amount of effort, that generates the greatest returns for me and for my customers. So I've focused on Facebook as a way to do that, because for a very little amount of effort, you can reach a whole lot of people, present them with something that they may find valuable. You can target people in your marketplace and people who are looking for real estate in your area and get a lot of leads very quickly that you can begin working. The majority are buyer leads. So what you're going to get is 80% to 90% buyer leads, although people who are buyers also in a lot of cases have to sell as well. So you can turn them into seller leads as well. But what you should expect is the majority of what you're going to see are buyer leads. The other thing that I want to focus on is getting people into your pipeline so that you constantly have people to work, and automating as much of that as possible so that you're not reliant on kind of targeting one lead at a time, but you can scale very quickly so that you've got drip campaigns and workflows set up so that when someone comes to you from Facebook, you can get them automated, set up so that they're receiving texts and emails and things of value from you without you doing any intervention as possible. Doing any intervention, if at all possible. So let me start with what led me to focus on Facebook. So during my first year in real estate, I spent just under $6,000 on 73 ads on Facebook. With that money, I reached, I'm reading off my notes here, 355,481 people who saw my ads 900,077 times. So more people than I could ever reach with email or with phone calls or with text. It's just the scale here is enormous. Most importantly, out of that, oh, go ahead, Christy.
I was going to ask, those are astronomical numbers for the amount of money, quite honestly. Were you, and you may get to this, were you promoting listings? Were you adding value? What kind of posts were those to get those numbers?
Great question. I'll get to a little bit more about that later on, but since you asked the question, there are two things I focus on with Facebook ads. So one are promoting listings. It's the best way to get leads that are kind of further along in the pipeline who are really interested in buying real estate. I have a long-standing listing that probably isn't going to sell in the near future for a variety of reasons. I won't go down that rabbit hole, but I'm using that listing to generate a constant flow of leads who are interested in that type of property that I'm listing. It may not be that specific property, but they come in to me and say, hey, I'm not interested in this, but I saw you had posted this. And so I'd like to talk to you about other property in the Asheville area. And so it immediately generates the conversation.
And I'd love to interject if it's okay. It may be a dog and pony show here, Scott, is what it might be.
That's fine. I'm good with that.
For our newer agents and newer members, please know that all of us have already agreed as a group. If you don't have listings, do not worry. All of us will share our listings and you can get creative with them. And even with Scott's, hey, do you know anybody, that would love to live on 100 acres in wherever it is? So please know that there are options. I don't want you to think, oh gosh, I don't have a listing, I can't promote myself. Okay, go ahead, Scott. Okay. Sorry.
The second way I use Facebook, kind of getting back to Christy's question. So first is listings. Second is to drive traffic to my website. So my website is kind of the core anchor of my business. I want people coming to my website. I want them registering so I get their contact information, because then I can present my business in the way that I want to present it and the way that I think is going to best add value to somebody looking to buy or sell real estate in North Carolina. Go ahead, Joanna.
Your website, is it just your EXP website? Do we all need to have fancy bells and whistles, or is it just your EXP website? Because I'm sure somebody else.
That's a great introduction, because I was about ready to start screen sharing so that you could stop looking at my face. So I do not use KV Core, and there's a long story there too that I won't go into. But my website is pretty straightforward. It doesn't have a whole lot of bells and whistles. It's your basic search page with pretty pictures of Western North Carolina mountain scenes. I've got introduction to me, I've got Google reviews, I've got area, I've got listings on my property. It's kind of what you see on any old website. The key here is I have this set up so that anytime someone starts looking for properties, they get prompted to register, and it's a required registration. And I know there's a lot, you can have religious debates about whether you require people to register or not. So I won't go down that path, but I have found that in order to narrow the funnel to get serious buyers, you want to have registration required, because otherwise you're going to get a lot of garbage leads, and you're going to spend a lot of time reaching out to people who are just couch surfing real estate ads and are not likely to be serious buyers anytime in the reasonable future. So I use required registration as soon as someone wants to look at something on my webpage. All right. So I missed the last part of my data, probably the most important part. So for the $6,000 that I spent, That generated $11,000 in gross commissions and 13 what I would call A or B buyer leads. So people who are either clients of me now and are looking, or who are very likely to become clients in the future. They're already qualified. They're just waiting for some triggering event to start. So if, you know, a tenth of that 13 turns out to be buyers, you know, the $5,000 or $6,000 I spent last year is well spent. So for a relatively small amount of advertising budget, you can generate a lot of qualified leads, a lot of people who are going to look to buy, and you don't have to do a whole lot of work to do it. It's just, there's not a lot of back and forth. It's just working with leads and doing follow-up with people who look like they're genuinely interested in buying property. Okay. Let me jump to, and I have to get the menu out of the way here so that I can actually get to what I want to get to. Let me get to some of the mechanics. So that was the why I do Facebook advertising. Sorry, rolling back to the beginning of the two things I want to cover. That's the why. It's a really low cost, low effort way to generate a lot of leads, to get people who are interested in buying, who you can start working with very quickly, either get them on drip campaigns or actually start working with them because they're immediate buyers. All right, so the mechanics. So you've probably read, if you've done any work on Facebook advertising, in order to use Facebook for advertising, you have to have a Facebook business page. This is what mine looks like. So this is different than your personal page. You want to have a Facebook business page that is separate from your personal page, because you don't necessarily want mom or your sister or your buddies commenting on your Facebook post. You want this geared more towards business activities. I post to my Facebook business page daily. I've made it just part of my daily routine. Julie talked last week, if you were on the meeting, about your daily routine. And so I've made this part of my daily routine. And there's some other things that I'm going to cover that are part of my daily maintenance of my Facebook advertising and my web traffic, so that I understand what's going on my advertising, whether it's effective or not, so that I can know if I need to make changes to what I'm advertising. So that starts with posting, and I do a mix of personal stuff. So this is a picture of my dog and my cat cuddling last night in front of the fireplace. Strangely enough, my nature photos or pet photos get 5 times the traffic and interest as my real estate postings do. So you definitely want to mix in some personal stuff along with, you know, things about mortgage rates and things about buying a home. And I'll talk a little bit in a second about where I get the content for this. I don't create this all on my own. This comes from a service I use. Hey, go ahead, Joanna.
Also, if you'll notice, he's commenting on comments that people are doing. That ups your SEO, just FYI. I've said it about 1 million times, but always comment. A like gets you 0.
Yep. If you haven't set up your Facebook business page, one of the links I will post after this meeting on the win page in Workplace is it's about a 40-minute video that I watched a couple of weeks ago about the kind of ins and outs of actually setting up your Facebook business page the right way so that it gets the most traffic. I thought it was really helpful. I discovered some things I was doing wrong that I'm now fixing. So it was really useful. If you haven't set up your business page, it's a great way to start. It is by a company that sells services. I'm not affiliated with them. I just thought their video was really helpful. They're relatively inexpensive. So if you want to use them for help, I've used them in a couple of places with posting ads. They're legit. They're a decent company, but they're not compensating me or anything like that. They're just a good resource to use for Facebook information. Okay, so once you have a Facebook page, let me see if I can get the menu to go away again. Sometimes this top bar does not want to go away. There we go. Behind the scenes, you get what is called the Meta Business Suite. Since Facebook has changed its name to Meta, they've rebranded everything. This is the place I spend the majority of my time when I'm looking at my Facebook advertising. So you get access to this from your Facebook page by clicking on Manage, and then you'll see Meta Business Suite. And you just click there and you will get when it decides to load, your business suite that just gives you a snapshot of what's going on with your Facebook business page. So, it has a link to creating a post, which I'll show you how to do in a second. It has some information on Facebook trends. So how are you reaching customers? How many people are following your page? It also tracks Instagram. You can set goals for yourself for how many people you want to reach. You get some summaries of your posts and all kinds of things like that. If you are using an ad that generates messages, and I'll show you how to do that in a second as well, you'll get a to-do list of people who've contacted you who are waiting for a response. So you can come to this one place and see everything you need to know about what's going on with your Facebook business page. So as I said earlier, one of the first things I do when I get up in the morning is I create a post. So you just click on the create a post button and you get to your posting page. So you can type in whatever text you want. This is a post, add photos or video, even if you're taking pictures with your camera or taking quick videos, add photos or video, because a text only post is not going to generate a whole lot of interest. So make sure that you're adding pictures. What's cool about this and doing this from a Facebook business page is that it gives you the option to publish the post immediately. You can schedule it. And Facebook, with all of its brilliant computers, will actually tell you when your followers are most active. So you can schedule your post to go out when people are most likely to be looking at their Facebook page. So of the 282 followers I have, 6 p.m. is most commonly when they're on their Facebook page and would be more likely to see what I'm posting. So it gives you some intelligence that you can use to get your post in front of the most eyeballs so that people are interacting with your page, which is what you want ultimately. Okay, so post, you can save as a draft too, which is nice. If you're kind of in the middle of something and somebody calls you and, hey, wants to chat about real estate, you can save as a draft and come back to it later, which is also very nice as well. All right, so other things that you would do from this page. You saw that I have a message from somebody here, and you do get a lot of junk messages when you post ad messages, so you'll get things like this, but you do have an inbox. So again, when you post a Facebook ad that generates messages, which I will show you how to do in a few moments, you have a whole inbox of the people who have contacted you. And so you can see where they're from, what their information is, what ad they responded to. If you have multiple ads running, you can automate some of these responses, which I'll show you as well. You can keep track of different threads, so on and so forth. Gives you again, a one-stop shop where you can come and find this information.
Hey, Scott, excuse me, could you make your font, could you make it a little larger?
I can give it a shot. 1 second. Let me.
Really small. I mean, it's tiny from what I'm seeing.
Thank you for letting me know. Is that better?
Yes, it is.
Okay, cool. All right. From your Facebook business suite, another thing that you can look at are insights. So this is something I might click over to daily just to see how things are going with the ads and the interaction. So some nice things here. I can see how my reach is trending. So date range here is over the Christmas holidays, which is why there's a blip there in the middle, because I wasn't doing a whole lot during Christmas. But you can see what your trends look like, and you can change this date range if you want to see, for example, the last 7 days versus 30 days versus a year versus whatever range that you want to see. So you can see, is my posting and are my ads effective, or is it trending downward and do I need to change something? You can see what content have you posted and how many people it has reached. So I'll post some things that'll reach 90 to 100 people. I'll post some things that only reach a few people. It just depends on what people are interested in. Gives you a profile of your Facebook followers. So you get gender, you get age range, so you can kind of see what the demographics of your followers look like. You can look at some other information. So it gives you some interesting data on how people are interacting with your site. Another thing I look at regularly here is content overview. So this gives me information on what content am I posting that is more or less effective. So video is most effective, images are close, text is half as effective, and just posting links is not terribly effective. What I like on this is that I can see what of my recent posts were most effective. So here are the posts that have performed the best over the past 90 days. You'll notice nothing to do with real estate. One had to do with de-icing a plane I was on. Another was a bird that came to our little bird camera. And another was about my new coffee maker. So again, posting personal content in addition to real estate content is going to attract the most eyeballs, is the best way to get people to start looking at your real estate content. All right, so let's talk about ads. So this is the part that from other people I've talked to, when people are getting started with Facebook, they find most intimidating. You're spending money. So, it makes sense that, it's a little intimidating. So one thing I would advise is if you're just getting started out with this, just understand you're going to waste money because you're going to be learning and you're going to do things that are wrong or not ideal or not optimized. And it's okay. That's part of the learning process. It's part of the investment that you're making. I have a story. So during my first year of doing this, I came in to change one of my ads because it was performing really well. It had a deadline. It was ending in a day or two. And I said, oh, okay, well, I'll add some money to this and extend the date. So I went in and I said, okay, let me add another $100 to my advertising budget. What I didn't do at that time was extend the date, and not realizing that Facebook said, oh, okay, we'll take your $100 and we'll spend that over the next day very quickly. So I spent $100 on a Facebook ad in like 5 minutes. Hey, I got this really great spike in traffic, but it wasn't the ideal way to do it. So you're going to do things like that. One way to avoid doing that, though, is you get 4 free phone calls with a Facebook Marketing Pro. They are very helpful. All you have to do is click on the button when you go to your ad page, and you'll get a calendar pop up when you can schedule time with a Facebook Marketing Pro. I would advise using them for 2 things. If you haven't set up your Facebook business page, or you've set it up and it's not really something you've worked on, set up your first meeting to have them help you set up your Facebook business page. They will walk you through all the different steps. They will get on an interactive session with you. So they will guide you through all the different steps that you need to go through to get set up. The second thing that I would use the Marketing Pro for is to have them walk you through the process of creating an ad. Same thing. Once you have your Facebook business page, they will actually walk you through creating an ad. So if you write down some content and share and save some pictures off that you want to use in an ad beforehand, they will walk you through setting up that ad in a way that will generate the most traffic. And then the third thing, and you get 4 calls, the third thing I would use the Marketing Pro for is a technical setup. So there are things like your pixel, which is the snippet of code that goes on your website that allows you to track people who come from Facebook and interact with your web page, that require a little bit of technical setup. It's not terribly difficult. It doesn't involve any computer coding, but there are things that you have to do that you may or may not be comfortable with, depending on how tech savvy and computer savvy you are. They will walk you through doing that. And if you can't do it on your own, they will tell you exactly what you need to tell your web manager, your webmaster to set it up. So if you use KB Core, you could probably send it in to web support and they will do the work for you, and they will be able to set it up on your behalf. Really helpful, kind of save some time and avoid struggle that you might run into when you're setting up an ad. All right, so from here, creating an ad is really straightforward. Click the button. Facebook tries to automate as much of this as possible to make it less intimidating, and that's a really good way to go if you're just getting started. The 2 types of ads I use most commonly are get more messages. And I use this specifically when I have a listing that I want to promote. So I'm creating an ad where I'm targeting people who are most likely to send messages to me about the property that I have posted. Whether they want to buy that property or whether they want to buy something similar to that property, I have a new buyer contact who I can start to work with. I also use it to drive traffic to my page, so promote my page. So here I might promote, for example, I've got on my homepage right now, properties that people can use for putting camping equipment, putting trailers on, which is really popular in my area. So I might drive them to that page and say, hey, you know, I can find you unrestricted land that's under $50,000 in the Asheville area. Click here, go to my page, they register. Now I have a new person that I can interact with. They're probably further earlier in the pipeline than person who's responding to a specific listing, but it's a great way to, again, start to build your lead database, get people you can send newsletters to who down the road might become buyers. I don't recommend using the Facebook lead function. The reason is you're kind of one step away from your website. So if you have the ability to capture registration information on your website, which I believe everybody does if you're using KV Core, I would direct people to your website and capture that information directly, then capture it through Facebook. Plus, when you use Facebook leads, you get a lot of see more butts and other garbage names and garbage contact information through Facebook. So it's just I found not a really productive way. So get more messages, promote your page are the two options that I would use most frequently. All right, so I click on here, you pick an option. So I pre-populated some information just so you have something to look at. So when you get to this ad page, it's pretty straightforward. You're going to type in some content. So if I'm driving people to my webpage, I might put something simple like, hey, I'm an expert in selling land and property in Asheville and Western North Carolina. Add some pretty pictures that are going to attract eyeballs. It's the best way to get attention. You can put in anything as your headline. I usually use my brokerage and my name so that people know who they're contacting. There's some options here that when you go, if you set up one of those Marketing Pro calls, they will explain to you what each one of these does. But a lot of these are using Facebook's intelligence to point advertisements to people who are most likely to use them. So I turn on these options because it's using what Facebook does best so that it directs ads to people who are most likely to interact with your ad. All right, so I mentioned about when you post a Facebook ad that is generating messages back to you, you can auto stage some responses. So if you're putting up a listing, for example, what are most people going to ask? Well, they're going to ask, how much does the property cost? Where is it located? So you can prompt those questions and answers so that the interaction happens automatically. So people can click on a button that says, how much does this property cost? And you can post an answer. Where is the property located? You can give some landmarks. You know, is it an HOA? Things that people typically ask about property. You can answer those automatically without having to do interaction. People get a really quick response, so they think you're super responsive, and it might generate more conversation. What I do when I get message responses that generate auto responses is that I follow up later on. Remember, I'm going to see on my Facebook business page that I've got a queue of messages that I've received. So I will go in and respond to those messages manually. I copy and paste a little snippet that says something like, hey, this is Scott from eXp Realty. Thanks for expressing an interest in 123 Main Street. Are you interested in seeing this property? Or are you looking for something similar in the Asheville area? And I get a lot of responses back of, oh, I'm not looking in Asheville, but I'm looking someplace else, or I'm, you know, looking for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath home, or I'm looking for 3,000 square feet or whatever it is. So you start an interaction based on a listing that you have. I would say that when I post a listing, 90% of the messages turn out to be for something else other than that listing. You will get a lot of messages right after you post the ad when it's a brand new listing, just because you're generating a lot of that interest. But then over time, if that listing is still available, you're going to get a lot of more general interest in the area or in that type of home. And people are looking for a different price range or different features or something like that. So it's a great way to start building your lead pipeline. I'm going to pause for a second, let people ask questions. I can't see everybody's hands. So if you've been holding up your hand, I apologize.
So Scott,
okay.
most of this, when you're getting people here, you're moving them onto your Facebook. I mean, your website, you don't, I mean, do you have like a lot of followers on your business page? I mean, do you
I
have
have about 300 followers on my business page. So what Facebook says is you want to get up to 100, and that starts to trigger some of their automation that pushes your website out to more people because it recognizes you as a legitimate business. You start ranking higher on Google searches so that you get more people. If they're searching for, if you get somebody searching for Asheville real estate, my Facebook page might pop up because my Facebook page is ranked higher. So you start to get better search engine optimization once you get up to 100 followers.
And question number 2 is Facebook is changing a lot of stuff. And I just, so if you want to address that at the end or whatever, but I know everybody's seeing all these changes that are happening. So I'm going to.
So no, those are really good questions. So Facebook made changes, I believe it was middle of last year, with how they deal with iOS. So people who are on Apple's operating system, and the amount of information you can collect about those people. So when they did that, and there's really nothing we can do about it, your ability to reach people who are using iOS devices went down. So you got less contact from people who are using iPhones and iPads. But it's Apple's policy. There's really nothing you can do about it. You just kind of have to live with it. I'm still seeing a lot of traffic from people who are using Apple devices. So I think when you're doing something specific like real estate, and when you're doing something specific like real estate in an area, people who are looking for that are coming through to you regardless. You're not going to get as much, general traffic by people who are just looking for real estate in general. But if you're targeting a specific market, you can still collect those leads. The other change I know Facebook is making, I don't think they've made it yet, but it's coming up. They are taking away the ability for real estate agents to advertise listings for free on their marketplace. The obvious reason is, I'm sure you've all read, Facebook has a revenue problem. They are trying to generate as much revenue as possible. So for car dealers and real estate agents, they're saying no more freebies. You have to pay for ads if you want to advertise a listing. So that's where you're going to come to here and be setting up listing ads through their paid service. All right, a couple other things when you're setting up ads. So I use Messenger exclusively. I don't promote a lot on Instagram. If you have a very active Instagram presence, absolutely use Instagram. It's just another way to reach people. It's just that I don't happen to do that. One incredibly important thing to keep in mind when you are setting up a Facebook ad is this note about special ad category. Because you are in real estate, you have to select the housing option. Even if you're posting about your cat, if you are a real estate agent and you're promoting an ad, you must select housing. Otherwise, your ad will be rejected. You will have to do it over again. It's a gigantic pain in the butt. You don't want to do that. Just make it, burn it into your mind. When I come and post a Facebook ad, I have to select the housing option. And that's in order to make sure that you're compliant with fair housing rules, because there are some ways that Facebook allows people who are not in real estate to target ads that would not be okay with the Federal Housing Commission and fair housing rules. So we have to make sure those are excluded. Okay, so you see that option here. When I select housing, it actually customizes how you set up your audience. When you do this the very first time, you will have to set up all of your location information manually. It's a bit of a pain, but once you do it one time, Facebook starts to gather geographic data. So it will automatically prompt you with where it would be most effective to target your ad geographically. So here you'll see I target people in Arizona, California, Florida, and Georgia, because that's where I get most of my out-of-state contacts from. So if I'm posting any kind of listing, and it's something that I think will appeal to people who are out-of-staters, I will always target other states. I would imagine this applies to those of you in Texas and Florida as well. Same thing. You've got a lot of people coming in from outside. So pick your states where you get people coming in from and target them geographically for advertising. You can either target specific cities, or you can target entire states. It really doesn't matter. It gets your ads to people who are in those areas. And then I target a bunch of people locally as well. The only other targeting option that you have with Facebook ads is what they're looking for. So again, Facebook will automatically prompt you for things like house hunting, first-time home buyer, or people who are looking on Zillow, so on and so forth.
Scott, can I ask you a question?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm kind of new to this. I mean, I've been doing it for years, but at a very low level. So now I live in an area outside of Fort Lauderdale, and I have not really gotten a lot of listings in that area, and I want to become that realtor for that area. So someone suggested to me, as far as the audience goes, try to narrow it down to just that city. Would you suggest that?
When I'm soliciting for business, so when I'm not promoting a listing, but I'm saying, hey, I'm a real estate agent in Asheville. Especially if I'm trying to generate seller leads, I do the same thing. I narrow this down to Asheville and 25 miles around Asheville, and that's it. Because I want to get people, particularly who might be thinking about selling a home or land in that area. So I'll do exactly the same thing, focus it down. So I actually have pre-built audiences, one that's for listings, that's all over the place, and one that is for services that's very focused on the Asheville and surrounding area where I work.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. A couple other quick things, because I want to cover a couple other things before I run out of time here. With ad duration, I always schedule ads to run continuously. The reason for that is, unless you have something that you know is ending in a week or 2 weeks, then the smarts that Facebook uses to post your ad will work more effectively if you post the ad continuously. You'll get more consistent response to the ad. When you say, I only want this ad posted for a week or 2 weeks, Facebook does this. It kind of optimizes it for the middle, and then it kind of ramps it down at the end. And once you get to that end, it's kind of done. The ad's basically used up, and you have to remake the ad. So it's much less work if you just have the ad run continuously, and then it's very easy to stop it when you decide that you want to stop it. It's literally one click that says stop running this ad. Facebook recommends that you spend between $10 and $15 a day on an advertisement. Below that, it just doesn't get enough exposure. I highly recommend you experiment with different dollar figures that work to see what works best for your audience. But in general, they recommend between $10 and $15 a day, and I've seen the best response in that range. Take these estimates with a grain of salt. They're based on all kinds of different industries, so it won't necessarily apply to real estate, but I've gotten the best results between $10 and $15 a day. It doesn't mean it will spend exactly this amount per day. You'll see like $12.43, $9.87, $16.02. So it will optimize it so that it averages out whatever you put in this period, so that over a longer period of time, you'll see about $15 a day.
Scott, real quick, could I
Yep.
ask you on that note, because I've played with it, but at such a kindergarten level. So when you say, okay, choose $10 to $15 a day, run continuously, and that is for that one specific ad. My question is, do you just let it run? Yeah.
Yes, that's a great question.
Okay.
So I've asked my Facebook marketing rep, do ads that you run continuously wear out? And they claim, no, they're always, there's always new people out there who we can target for your ad. What I found is that after about 4 to 6 weeks, the ads get stale. And what you want to do at that point is, and I won't go into this today, but I'm happy to do a one-on-one with anyone to show them how to do this, or your Facebook marketing pro can show you how to do this too. There's a function where you can duplicate an ad, which basically takes all of this setup that you've done here, all of the pictures and content, and creates a new ad. And you can tweak the audience, or you can tweak anything about the ad. You do very little work to do that, but you get a brand new ad that's refreshed and new, and all of a sudden you're going to see a spike in activity again. So every 4 to 6 weeks, in fact, one of the ads I have running is about to be retired for that reason. It just starts to get stale and you don't see as much traffic anymore. And so it's worth refreshing.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So let me get out of that and let me show you. Yes, I'm going to leave that. Let me show you where I go to look to see how my ads are performing and how to modify them. So again, we're still in this same left navigation bar here where it says all tools. You want to go to Ad Manager. And Ad Manager is going to pop up in a new window with a new screen, which is great because you can go back to the business page and you can also see what's going on with Ad Manager. And it's taking a second to load because I'm zooming and videoing at the same time. Usually it's much faster than this. Let me switch to the account I want to be in. So this is a page that I will come and check out daily just to see how things are performing. So I mentioned that I run these continuously, and I said that when you're done running them, it's one click to turn it off. Well, here's the click, on and off. They make it really simple for you. There's literally an on and off switch. So you can turn the ad off. That will stop the ad from running. It will stop the spending, immediately or very close to immediately as soon as Facebook recognizes that you turn the ad off. So I have, like I said, 2 different types of ads running. I have one that generates messaging conversations, and this one's generated 73 conversations so far. And I have an ad that generates traffic to my website. There's something broken on my website right now, which is why it's not keeping track of the landing page views, but it is generating traffic. This page just gives you stats on what your ads are doing. So you can see how many people these ads have reached. And this, again, you can toggle the period of time. So this is for the month of, for January. So you can see how many people you've reached, how often they're seeing the ad, what your cost per result is, what your budget is for each of these 2 ads, how much you've spent in total. You keep scrolling over. You get more in-depth information about your advertising. So impressions, or how many people who have seen the ad, cost per impression or per 1,000 impression, tells you how much you're spending. You will pay more for messaging ads than you will for people who generate traffic. There are metrics on these. Your Facebook Marketing Pro can tell you for your area what you should be seeing, and they will be very clear with you. This ad is not performing well. You should fix it. Or this ad is great. You should keep running it. So they're very upfront about that, and other information about what you're seeing. Another way, though, and my preferred way to see how my ads are performing is with Google Analytics. And again, I will post all these links at the end so that you don't have to memorize them all right now. If you are not using Google Analytics for your website, I highly recommend you start doing so. It's super simple to set up, and it is free. And it tells you all kinds of things about what's going on your website. I'm sorry, this font is a little bit small. I don't think I can make this. Let me see if I can make this bigger. Oh, good. I can make it bigger. Okay. So what this shows me is lots of information about the traffic to my website. So for the last 7 days, I've had 256 users, which is a 23% increase over the previous 7 days. How many times they visited my website, how many times they've come and abandoned, what their average session duration is, all kinds of metrics that tell me how sticky my website is, which is when you are trying to drive traffic to your website as kind of a core of your business, you really want to know, because it tells you, is what I'm doing to generate traffic to my website effective? You can see where your traffic is coming from. So how much of my traffic is coming from paid search? That's like Google Ads. How much is coming from social interaction? How much is coming directly to my website? So people who might be finding me through a Google search or through some other link and coming to my website, and then some links that it can't keep track of. What pages do they visit? So my form sign up page, or my most common pages where they sign up. And not to get too deep into this, but there's so much information here that you can see about what's going on your website. I think it's a really useful resource to understand what's going on with your business when the website is a core to your business. And then, since we're running out of time, there's one other thing I want to show. You saw on my webpage, I'll go back to my page. So when I'm not taking pictures of my cat and dog cuddling on pillows, when I'm trying to promote real estate information, I'm using a service called Keeping Current Matters. This is like list reports for those of you who use list reports, but I like them better because I think their content is fantastic. They have really good blog posts that you can, with a couple of clicks, post to your Facebook page. They have pre-built videos that you can post to Facebook. They have all of these cool social graphics that you can post to Facebook or Instagram or whatever other social media sites that you're using. They do weekly housing market updates where they have economics experts come in and talk about what's going on in the housing market. They're about 15 minutes long. I find them very useful when I'm going out with clients, whether they're buyers or sellers, to have some buzzwords and some scripts ready to go. The thing I love most about this site, though, is they have a function called Email Builder. So for those of you who struggle with producing a newsletter monthly and getting it out to your entire database, this will allow you to use their content and, with a couple of clicks, build an email newsletter that you can literally copy and paste into whatever CRM you're using, whether that's KV Core or some other website or some other CRM, and send it out to your entire database. It takes about 15 minutes to put together your newsletter and blast it out to however many people you have in your database that you're trying to keep in touch with. It's something that I do every month religiously. I get a lot of interaction through my newsletters with people who are cold or kind of lukewarm leads. So they say, oh, hey, I saw your newsletter. I wanted to ask you about blah. And all of a sudden you've got somebody who you weren't really actively interacting with back in your warm or hot lead category. All right, it's 2 minutes after 12. I'm going to take a breath. See if there are other questions. There are a lot of other things I wasn't able to cover. If you have questions afterwards, feel free to reach out to me on Workplace, or I'll put up my contact information. Feel free to email, text, give me a call. I'm happy to talk to anybody about this. I really feel strongly that this is a great way to do business. I was thinking about it the other day. I think Facebook advertising, especially because it tends to hit people who are very early in the buying pipeline, is almost like the new version of cold calling, but you can reach hundreds of thousands of people rather than one person at a time over the course of time. So it's really a really effective way to reach out to people, to build your database, to build your pipeline, so that you have people who are 6 months, a year, 18 months, even longer away from buying, but they're going to mature over time, and you're going to constantly have that flow of business, and you're not going to be, reach that point where you're like, okay, I just closed on this listing, or I finished up with this buyer, who's my next person?
Scott, you are a great teacher. You are a great teacher, and I love that you let people ask the questions. And I'm so glad this is recorded. I've already had one question of when this will be up, Christy.
I actually just responded as well. And so since I am, everyone, please make part of your day to go to the Win Workplace group, because we are going to, this year, Julie and I have said we're going to make sure that the content is much more consolidated. So just a reminder, go and just check into your Workplace Win group. Secondly, I posted on here, and I will also post on our Win group. But what I think is really ironic and funny at the same time, we call ourselves the Win group, right? Well, all of our family that are, I don't know, what, 5, 6, 7 levels up above me, that we are all part of Disruptor Nation. They have all come together and created Big Win Wednesday. And they use bigwinwednesday.com. Look in the chat box. I wanted to let everyone know, if I hosted this about a month ago, and Julie did part of it as well. They just kicked it back off a few weeks ago. If you want to get more information and inspiration at one time, you don't have to stay on for all 3 hours. There's an icon series, there's an EXP Explained series, and then there's a RevShare Quick Start. Every Wednesday at 4:30 Central Standard Time, this is what they're doing. And they're doing it as a gift to bring in for everybody across the nation, just different flavors, right? Of icon series, different flavors of how people might do EXP Explained, and to get you revved up on RevShare. So I would encourage you, if you can, log on, see what you think. Yes, ma'am, Dixie.
I had 2 questions I wanted to ask real quick.
Yep.
One, for open house ads, do you still recommend doing this your way, or do you think it's better to just use the KV Core like quick ad thing?
I don't use KV Core, so I can't comment on that. What I found with, and I've tried a bunch of automated services for Facebook ads, and I found that I'm kind of picky about my content and my branding. So if you're picky about content and branding, don't use the automated services, because obviously they're trying to do something that works for everybody. So it's very generic, and I don't find it very compelling. And I think the time investment for posting an open house ad is so small that it's worth doing it on your own. That's another case where you'd want to really focus in on the area where the house is located. So it's another opportunity to really target geographically, so that you're kind of flooding the market with your Facebook ads, so that people who are within 10 miles of where the house is are seeing that ad over and over and over again.
And one thing I'll add to that, Dixie, is that it was, I don't know, midsummer. I said I'd be a guinea pig for the KV Core ads. I did the one that was for the life of the listing, the $265. Do not do it, because when a week came along, it went off. And I got on the phone to KV Core and I about did a Christie on them. I said, no. It specifically said life of the listing. And I was not happy. I will not be doing that again. So I'd go along with what Scott said.
Okay. Well, I get my best result from like the week ad on KV Core, but then to do like an open house one, I typically only run that for like a few days. And Scott was saying how he does like the continuous run. So then I was like, okay, am I going to have to set like an alarm in my phone to remember to go turn that off, so I'm not, paying for it after the open house is done?
Yeah.
With an open house, that might be a case where you want to use deadline, because you have a very specific end date. So the ads that are set to run over a specific period of time are really tied to you're having some kind of deal that ends on a very specific date. So it doesn't work for a listing, right? Because you don't know when it's going to go off the market. But if it's an open house, or if it's, you're offering for the month of January some discount or some promotion, then that might make sense to do it that way.
And my last question was, you said about the Google Analytics, and I know you don't use KV Core, but do you know if it can be integrated to our website that we use through there?
Yeah, it should be able to. I'd contact whoever you use for tech support at KV Core for your website. Just say, hey, I want to get set up so my website's connected to Google Analytics. Go to analytics.google.com. And again, I'll post the link on the recording. There's a little bit of setup information that you need to put there. You need to put in your website URL and things like that. You'll get that set up, and then you can contact tech support at KV Core. And I'm sure they've done it hundreds of times to set people up for Google Analytics.
Perfect.
Scott, I think I can speak for everyone. Thank you for just pouring into us. And I know we can't, build a pyramid in a day. However, there's some plus it's recorded, so that's very good. We can go back and watch you over and over, but such brilliant, coaching. Thank you for pouring into us. Anybody else before we go? So I say, have a kick-ass week, guys. Go get them. Love you guys. See you next week. Bye.